Okay, here we are with Under the Lily Banners. I think this is the last of the box GMT games I have in this series. I think I have some Victus that are also of it. I'll have to go hunting them. Things start off with the Battle of Rocroi. Rocroi, I guess. Which is a big one. The game makes the argument that it may be the most consequential battle in the 30 Years' War. Not sure how I feel about that. We got some different things. First of all, the cannons can move in this. Accursed Civil War is a special case in the series because the artillery crews were exceptionally limited and weren't able to manhandle the guns even. Here they have 2 movement points, but they have to limber first and all kind of crap like that. So you're probably not going to see them moving around a hell of a lot. But at least in some scenarios where you saw them completely screened away or whatever, they might end up moving to some more useful position due to that. There's some interesting stuff here. This is, I guess, the 3rd game in the series. So far, I haven't hit any pieces that I need to replace yet. I might have to run upstairs and get pieces out of some other set that I have them in or something. Or just correct them. That's not too bad. One of them, there's like 2 pieces that need to be corrected, and one of them is, well, no. I think the playbook here, or the rule book here, actually only gives corrections to the previous games, which I already had incorporated, I guess. Anyway, you got your turn record track not on the board anymore, but on this chart. You got this order markers holding box. Yeah, maybe I'll use it, but I'm so comfortable with throwing them on the board that I don't really want to. The order summary, this is something I asked for in the previous game. Obviously, you know, they heard my words and went back in time and corrected it. No, I mean, it's clearly something useful in there and was not in the standard charts and tables. We have this reaction and interception zone summary, again, a useful thing. A couple of little boxes to keep stuff. The movement allowance, that was on some of the sheets. This is all stuff that could have been kept in here. Some of it may be in here. Yeah, this is all additional stuff. The terrain for this battle, we got a marsh, which I think works probably like the swamp. We got woods, but we also have gardens. I don't know what gardens are like. I'm not expecting too much. Probably a formation hit. The chart's gotten a lot bigger. Thicket, vineyard, or garden. It doesn't block line of sight. It does cause a formation hit. Got some that are specific to this game, Freiburg, stuff like that. Strudel. Took up a little bit more space. There was apparently room for it. The slopes here are supposedly gentle, which I think means they have no effect, basically. They might have some line of sight effect or something like that. I know that the slopes had an effect in the last, second Newbury or whatever, where they just prevented grazing fire from going over them, which is something. I got an @ sign here, musket fire. Wow. Anyway. We have some specific rules. One interesting thing here is our army commander for the French is Duke of Enghien. Well, this is also the Prince of Condé in other scenarios. So, a lot of history in this one. I feel like the series is picking up steam. The rule book's gotten thicker and, you know, more cases in it, but also a little bit of bloat in it. A nicer way of setting up the pieces as compared to the English Civil War. We got a few special rules. All slopes are gentle for purposes of time. 10.93. Let's see what 10.93 is. I'm using this rule book as much as possible rather than the Saints in Order, Saints in Armor. What is 10.3? Yeah, fuck. This is not pleasant. 10.3 looks it's normal infantry fire. That, I mean, except for maybe if there's the terrain effect listed in here. Oh, this is new. An infantry unit stacked with an artillery can perform advancing or retreat fire without leaving the hex. I don't know what that means. Have they gotten rid of, like, just standing and firing? I don't see it there. Okay. That is weird. They may not fire after undertaking any other actions, since fire options require the firing unit to move. This is an inherent part of the firing option. Okay, so yeah, I think they've changed the ability of infantry to just stand and fire. Skirmishing. No, that's skirmishing. Okay. No, it's still there. Yeah, I don't see anything about the slope there. Slopes are defined. Gentle slopes has no effect other than movement except C7.31, which is something new. I don't know. I'm sure as hell not going to give them the formation hits. Because gentle slope isn't even on here. Deep slopes are, gentle slopes are not. And I'm not going to work on that because I hate when this game throws too many formation hits. Interestingly, this is the high terrain, the lightest colored stuff. And the darkest is the low terrain. That's kind of opposite to most war games that I'm used to for doing tactical coloration. I'm okay with it either way. It's just, you know, it sort of makes sense, but because the vegetation's thicker down there or whatever. All right, what else were we at here? Yeah, this is Rocroi. I have a mark where my tobacco-stained fingers hit. Okay. Retreat edges, not anything big. Some senior commanders, which are expressed here instead of where I'm used to seeing them. There's no salvo fire here. This is early enough. This is basically the battle that broke the hold of the tercios as being sort of, you know, the preeminent military formation. Do I see anything that reflects tercios as being particularly different? No, not really. Like with the new model army, you know, they're high quality units for the most part, especially the Spanish ones. and they've got everything else. And, you know, the fact that they don't have salvo, well, the French don't have it either. So, you know, it's not really like an advance in technology or anything here. There's going to be a preliminary bombardment where we get to fire each of the artillery once before the battle starts, and any FH plus MC result, which I don't know if that's even possible at this range, ends up being a casualty. We'll see if that's the case. And this stream, this is just weird. It's not quite as disruptive as other streams. However, due to the soft ground, the speed at which it crosses affects cohesion. If a unit starts adjacent to the stream, moves across it, and ends its activation on the other side, but still adjacent, the unit doesn't suffer a formation hit. Your normal case here, I don't know about marshy stream. It doesn't say marshy stream, it just says stream, so I'm not gonna call it any different. We have stream. Stream on Edge Hill. This is, and Marston Moor. This is repeated from, you know, this is information for A Cursed Civil War. They got repeated in this, maybe because the rules were updated and everything. Some of the fire tables, there may be some differences in what happens. I'm using the ones from each game instead of always using the most modern stuff, figuring they wouldn't change the base systems, but I might be wrong there. And part of it is I want to use the components that came with the game, you know? But yeah, we're looking at normally there would be a cohesion hit and an extra movement point, and for that, the cohesion hit goes away as long as all you do is cross the stream. Like, you start and end there. If you do cross it more quickly, you make a roll, and it's unlikely to cause a formation hit. So, there's that. Then there's a bunch of options, and some of these relate around these are basically, we don't know what the battlefield really was like. We don't know what the disposition of troops really was like. So Picardy supports the right. This puts French infantry over here, gets rid of this as a cav corps, gets rid of these. Center wing in 2 lines. Look, I don't see that as being too big a difference, to be honest. I'm going to be able to shift units around. 2 or 3 lines doesn't make a hell of a lot of difference. You have kind of a 3rd line here, but this is really cool. It's its own separate command, which is a very interesting thing. That means that I can fill a gap with an infantry. Actually, it's a mixed brigade or wing. Commanded muskets. Okay, this is weird because there's instructions on how to set these up, but maybe they weren't there. Maybe they were back here. And the French version is presented in the setup instructions. Using Albuquerque's version, use only the 2 1-4 light musketeer or light infantry musketeers. I guess you don't use the 2-5 that was set up here. Honestly, do they make a lot of difference? Yes, you might chase them off the map. That's about the only thing that they really do. They're not that dangerous. Attached infantry. This is putting some of this infantry into the 2 Spanish wings and thus making them not cavalry wings. Game starts at 6 a.m., goes 20 turns. That's the whole thing. Starting orders, historical starting orders are listed. Again, you don't have to use those if you don't want to. I think they're a good idea. The victory conditions, the Spanish have an advantage here. they don't have to do anywhere near as well as the French have to. The French have to get 60 points to get up to a marginal victory in terms of difference. We take a look at base victory levels. I guess that's the amount of troops that everybody has. The French have more. A decisive French victory occurred with a victory point differential of 100. Yeah, you know, if you give the French more troops and maybe better leadership, I'm looking. Our overall commander here on the Spanish side isn't very good. He has a good cav commander, an okay infantry commander. For the French, these two commands are bonus, but the biggie is the commander-in-chief is very good. Wouldn't want to lose him. He's got a bright future in front of him. All right. I'm tired from doing the intro. I'll come back and do that initial artillery fire. Gotta find my dice. There they are. Before I go away and then come back and fight. This one, we've got particularly useful information about setup. First of all the regular units, not the leaders, not the cannons, but all the regular units are aligned per battle. And therefore there's room to put the name of the battle on it, and also which line they're in. Not only which wing they're in, but which line within the wing that they're in, which is really cool. So I've got not only all the information I need playing the game, but also information that's helpful in setup. And I can bag all the regular combat units, the infantry and cavalry, into a bag separate for each battle, which is also pretty damn awesome. So I am heavily in favor of the changes that have come about in the system at this point, right? What were the first two? God and Victorious Arms, I think. Nothing gained but glory. No, this is not where I want to see it. That's the full one, which might not be. So, no, this has Sweden Fights On. Wow, I didn't realize that was a late one. That's the post-Gustavus one, which might have been put in because Lion of the North already existed in GMT's publications. So they may have wanted to avoid the Gustavus Adolphus battles, but give a taste of it early on. I haven't played Lion of the North yet. It feels like Musket and Pike superseded it, but it's like, yeah, I'm not sure, you know? I mean, maybe the GBOH system works pretty well for it too. I can see the argument either way. I really can. They focus on different things. Obviously, the firepower is going to have to be addressed a little, is going to have to be different from those ancient battles. It feels like such a weird jump. It's like I think the last of the European stuff is probably Cataphract. And then it jumps to the Lion of the North, just jumping over all the medieval stuff. Now, part of that is because Berg had his own concepts for a medieval system with less organized armies and such not. But it just feels kind of funny to go from, the ancients, and Cataphract is still ancients, it's not late Byzantine stuff, to 30 Years' War using the same system. Now, on the other hand, they did throw the Japanese stuff in there, which is also of a much later period. In fact, one of the two Japanese battle systems incorporates the gunfire, etc. Maybe they both do. I don't remember which one I did. I think I did Rand, but I'm not positive. I managed to conduct the artillery fire. It had absolutely no effect. So we'll flip those back over. there was a morale check. Somebody had to make a morale check. I think one of the French. Off one of the big 12-pounders or whatever. A little bit of burning ember. Save the game. Hurt my finger. But yeah, I mean, the 12-pounders out to range 9, which could only hit the artillery, is a -1. A -1 on a single 12-pounder could conceivably get that FH plus MC. I don't know if the special rule really applies there, because essentially it's just a worse morale check. So that's all that happens to artillery. They don't get killed by it. I'm guessing it might kill the crew. So this wouldn't normally cause a casualty. So I guess there's some possibility of knocking out the artillery crew, which would disable the gun. 2 charges on this side. So that means the French are going to get to go first. And I'll decide what I'm doing. But you know what? I want to get me a yellow die. Because it looks like all of these battles are anti-Spanish Imperials. You might make an argument I need a gray die for that. Something else that showed up in this one, we got these arquebusiers. I am assuming they're carabiners or whatever, carbiners. Over here, they got a +1 on the fire chart. Elsewhere where I looked in the rules, there didn't seem to be anything that distinguished them. They are somewhat less effective. The close combat chart is more extensive here. It has the heavy infantry with no pikes that we had in that last, or in one of the later English Civil War battles, which we didn't have on the chart for that. We had special rules for them, but they didn't cover as much as this. But yeah. Anyway, the arquebusiers suck in close combat. They've got lighter armor, but they've got an extra weapon. As far as I can tell, they get 2 shots as if they have pistols. They just get the +1 on both of them, whatever it means. They're just more heavily armed, and it all kind of abstracts in. The French moved up to the river line. The Spaniards came around the stream and managed to hit. There was a countercharge and a failed countercharge or 2. But the net effect was 1 French unit got chased off the map along with the commander of the wing. Now, I was lucky not to lose my army commander there. That's going to put us over here. Trying to get used to the system again. Trying to get used to, you know, wanting to play more than just a couple of activations at a time. Not quite there yet. I started out in charge here. A countercharge or an interception or whatever occurred, destroyed one of my units. I decided to deal with that unit and then recover firepower, etc. And then in my second continuation, I didn't want to charge just yet. Let him slip into charge first. See, what you really want to do is you want to hit the enemy pretty hard and then get a continuation afterwards in which to recover. And I have good enough leadership that I can manage all of that. So I wanted to go along those lines. Things are not going terribly well for the French at this point. The choice not to advance with the Spanish line. This is always kind of a weird thing, but there's a lot of battle in place, and I feel like I've got kind of the advantage on the wings, so let's not press the center yet. Let the French come forward. But since I might not get another chance to fire my artillery, I shot up at the French artillery and now it's the French turn. And something of an echelon advance coming here, where I want to support the wing that's advanced, but keep contact with the one that's not. This Sirot's command is shifting over to handle what I see as a potential, as a likely weak spot, getting some cav in there to help that out. I got a leader replacement check, which is not good. I have to find a colonel for La Ferrante. Might as well put him here. No harm in that at this point. And that gets me to the second turn. Myself not doing mechanical things still. This guy didn't flip over. Now he obviously moved his command. I got him 2 continuations and everything. It's hard to remember all the mechanical actions you got to take. The 2 wings in charge, and that's it. The Spaniards have the leadership advantage, and as usual, yeah, you probably want to go next in these kind of circumstances, but he's forced to, which I don't know how I feel about that. There are times when you might want to let the other guy go first. Spanish cavalry was incredibly effective. They just smashed in, beat this wing up, forced Engem to take a couple of casualty checks. You really don't want him dying, and smashing up this wing, doing some damage to the reserve wing even. Yes, we chased another unit off the board. Okay. We got a continuation, but we couldn't get out of charge, which we really wanted to do. Ended up pretty muddled. I mean, both formations are pretty much broken up. I would say actually the French might just have the advantage with Sirot's force there. With these things not facing in the wrong direction once that's fixed, which will be, during their turn. Didn't get a chance to recover after the second charge either. So, yeah. I feel pretty, wiped out by doing a big cav fight. So I'm going to put this over here. That's the other charge. The situation where this game can be really, really rough on you. I don't want to throw myself into rally because you don't get continuations. Yes, I'm beaten up, but I'm also in a position where I've got a couple of fresh units that can hurt the Spaniards too and make them pay for the attacks that they made. And if I don't do that, I just suffer. So I try to go into a receive charge with the hopes that because it allows rally under certain circumstances, I might be able to recover a little bit better than in make ready, but it's a low chance and I end up failing. So now I'm stuck in charge still. Any whining you're hearing in my voice, whatever, there's frustration at making a choice and getting screwed by it. But this is what I love about this game, right? Not that it screws me, but that, it represents the fact that the momentum fucks you up, That charge was relatively effective, even though I was pretty fucked up and, not in the best shape to be doing one. Sorry. Car distracted me. Had to go look to see. It sounded like it was going in my driveway. You can see the casualty lists. Hey, the French have taken an extra cav in losses. And actually, they've lost an extra one as well in pursuit. Plus, they've lost their leader. But we got 2 leaders here, including the army leader, knocked out, which is worth more points. And yeah, things are looking pretty bad, mainly because of the Sirot flank can come up and kind of smash into these. That's making me feel like I have to engage with these before things get worse. One of those turns that's just nasty. A random artillery hit hit the commander of this wing before he got an action or anything, that's going to just paralyze the wing at this point. This before, but I always want to show, you know, when a full cav wing hits another full cav wing, the kind of mess that you get, because there's interceptions going on. There's a lot of shit happening, so like it's tangled up. You know, there's Spaniards here, but there's French curving all around. Looks like I got one chance to break up this momentum because I didn't get somebody in there that I was hoping to get in there. Attempt to reflect. Now, in this accursed Civil War, we saw the Cav always kind of charging the enemy off the board. That doesn't happen with these Continental armies. The Civil War, they were, you know, just less disciplined or whatever, except for Cromwell, I guess. So anyway, we did have to hit one of these, but we didn't run off the map. We've pretty much cleared a lot of the Spaniards. We're in a little bit of trouble. I'd like to recover. I don't know if it's necessary. But I have a good continuation chance, which I don't get. It's going to be kind of sad. I would have liked either to knock out its offensive firepower. They may not get a charge or whatever, but I'd rather knock out their offensive firepower or recover my forces so that they have, you know, good interceptions and such. Now, right now, this isn't an optimal situation. That was, I think, a make ready. But it doesn't really matter. All I got are make readies along here anyway. And this guy's out of the field. I think this is the only remaining Spaniard. I need a break. Don't know if I'll be back up today. I might take a nap. But, you know, I got plenty of sleep. But I'm always like, it would be nice to get an hour or two nap in, because I know I'm going to be up until, you know, 4 or 5, right? Here was unable to get out and make ready. I think they destroyed a Spanish unit rather than, I think this one was a different one. This is down to almost nothing. There's just, I think, this one cav unit left. And no capability here because the leader got killed by a freak accident. And then over here, we stayed in received charge, but that caused problems where these commanded muskets that were up in front and kind of in a stupid place, they had to run up and engage because they have to try to get in command some cav, and they got defeated without the cav chasing them off the map. Again, the discipline much better in this one. I chose to be in received charge. I don't know if that's the best choice, but it allows me to rally my morale losses, get a continuation chance, which isn't very good. And so that ends our turn. We got some leader replacements, which is still the same chart where, so we're going to get a colonel there. Oh, maybe not. Okay, I gotta check. We may have more points to lose. This will be the center infantry. Okay, left cavalry. Did I get a colonel in here? I should have L'Hôpital, who's not particularly good. Fuck. I don't know if I flipped that or not. Must have, because I got the leader there. I would have fixed that above anything else. So yeah, instead of the colonel there, I should have L'Hôpital, who's just more points for the Spaniards to get. He's not any advantage. And then in the center wing, I get Valier. And the right and Surat do not have one. I don't know. I'll put him here because that gives me a chance to recover that. You know, the French have lost a couple of commanders, but they didn't mean much. The Spaniards lost their one really good commander. Of course, that was the guy over here, and his command is pretty much wiped out. So, not too big a deal there. We're going to be at the start of a turn. I got a lot of time, but I just don't know. Like, this is when I want it to break, right? You know, at the end of a turn. Things look bad for the Spaniards. They really do. They've lost this flank. That's going to bring really a reasonable a cav force into play to threaten it. And then this mixed force. I mean, if I could break the front, sure. That could be a big deal. Over here, I'm out commanded. The forces look about equal. Dropped into receive charge and then into make ready, getting these guys into position or into condition for another fight. That throws us over here. Similar kind of thing I think I want here, where I want to rally these forces. I gotta kind of be careful because there's a tangling between two wings at this point, and both of them have cav. Little letter markers telling you which wing. You know, the battle indications telling you which pieces go with which battle. Hugely important, but this is the more important thing, to be honest. Obviously, though, you can't do that if you use the same forces in different wings in different battles or something like that. So the step to the battle to, you know, counters being used only in one battle is a big one. And maybe the more important, because doing this doesn't really work, just putting the wing indication. I thought it was in this game that I saw it, which was something that really didn't work, which was, oh, they're in the same battle, but different. So there's one battle that's basically two battles. Engagements over 3 days where the same forces are present, and they've got reduced, the same armies are present in the same wing formations and everything, with reduced values for the forces. Unfortunately, I don't think that there's going to be a way to transfer information from the first part of the battle to the second part of the battle. We'll see when we hit it, but yeah. A little bit about my personal situation. You know, I'm not getting anything more done in my life when I come down and play games, but I feel a lot better about the fact that I'm blowing things off to play games or to read or whatever, rather than, you know, I still feel miserable when I have to do something like go shopping or whatever, but, and I still feel the, oh, I ought to get these things done, like my yard work and stuff, but I just don't feel as bad as I do when I'm just sitting in front of the fucking computer. So it's kind of cool that I'm playing more. In the midst, and I notice another fuck up. I did the charges. Didn't realize I had this guy in charge. So I skipped over him and started going into here. Oops. You know, I mean, I don't know. Really didn't have any effect. This guy dropped into rally. I could have tried to get into receive charge, but that would really suck. Like, I'd just be stuck there, potentially. He's pretty much ready to be wiped out. That'll put me on a couple of actions down here. The Surat is the most interesting of the two, probably. To clear this out, try to get itself in a position to threaten here. The main line, look, the main line's going to do what it's going to do. It's going to hit the main Spanish force, and we'll see what happens. Okay, so Surat breaks the rest of this on 2 momentums, blah, blah, blah. Gets him, let's see. Yep, he's dead. And that puts us to one remaining leader, I think. No, we still have that, but one remaining leader on the French side over here. A change was put into place between this accursed Civil War, between the first couple of games in the series, I guess, and this one, intended to be across the board, I guess, which is that advancing fire has a -3 to it. This means something that I used to like, which was being within range 1 of stuff, especially with the salvo fire, etc., tended to be pretty effective. Now it's not. To the extent that if units get kind of close to each other, I don't know if they want to engage at all. It's just too high a price to pay. You're going in there and you're getting the shit shot out of you, and then you get to melee at approximately equal value. Now, if you're at a distance, you can do the charge. I buy this. I really do. I think it's the correct interpretation of the era, because this is not the sort of advancing fire that you see even in, 18th century combat. The reloading, etc., is just so expensive and so time consuming. But the way fire by introduction was explained in the original rules, it's a rank rank fires, and then the next rank moves forward and fires. It doesn't feel like it's that terrible a thing. And I think the penalty, I feel like the penalty is a little too high, given that withdrawal fire has the same exact penalty. I think withdrawal fire does make sense to be weak. And so we've got a clash here where the center kind of just broke away under fire. It did not approach. But these momentum attacks made their way in, so I'm going to get some bonuses on the hits. We'll see what happens. And for the most part, nothing good. We got hammered more on this flank, lost a unit, got a bunch of routing units. I don't remember. I had this on Make Ready. I didn't want to back it all up. There was too much going on, so I assume I rolled for charge and just forgot to move the things there. We'll pretend that's the case. But yeah, the French are not in good shape there, with the center breaking heavily. And now that leads me to, I think, just one command left, which is over here, with the Spaniards making an attack all along the line. This looks actually pretty good for the Spaniards. We'll see what it does. But with this kind of opened up and in danger, man, this flank collapsing could be a huge, huge factor where the French army is just destroyed here. And another victory for the Tercios. All my expectations of victory were not met with. And we get a continuation, though. We did get to keep our leader, at least. And we get it. We probably want to recover. It didn't happen. We're still in charge. Okay. I say that my white turkey is back. I don't know if it's the same one. It's got a baby, though. But I saw a white turkey about the year my wife died, I think. And it was down in Springfield, and then it seemed to have moved up to my hill. Like, I no longer saw it there, but saw it here. And I'm not sure this is the same one. The other time I was absolutely certain here. I'm not so much. This one looks like it might be younger. Oh, and here comes her buddy, who also has a couple of peeps with her somewhere, I think. Might find a chipmunk there to eat. Yeah, where are hers? I don't know, but they have been coming through my yard every day. Much, much more effective on the second, and it's hard to tell. This is French unit here, French unit here, French here and here. But we've broken up a lot of those French, killed a fair amount. We do have a possibility of another continuation, which we get. We don't want to be in charge if we can help it, I think. I don't know where we want to go, because things are kind of ugly right now. And we manage the somewhat more difficult. What's with your foot? Oh, there we go. She's got two. The somewhat more difficult move into make ready, which I wanted to go to not rally, and managed to actually form everything up. Get Strata back here so that he doesn't produce extra points, I guess. And now we got the recovery and into turn 4. You can see all of them now. You saw it there. There's the second one over there. I like my birdies. My little dinosaur friends. Busy looking for bugs. Sometimes they'll jump up and try to fly to get something, and they can get like a couple feet off the ground and then they fall down. Anyway, this is our final situation with the routers leaving, and it does not look good for the French. Before I was pretty sanguine about them, but now a lot less so. Here we are, it's Sunday, I guess still morning. I was feeling terrible yesterday. I was feeling sick on the way to go dancing, and I don't know if I was feeling terrible. I was unwilling to do a damn thing. Anyway, I basically spent the entire day in bed, and everything aches worse now because of that, but I guess we'll get started and try to do some of this. Wow. See, I got 2 wings. I think the Syrah wing is in charge there. The Spaniards are down to 2 wings now. How about that? This we need to recover. Okay. A kick in the crotch. I didn't manage to get into rally, so I'm stuck in charge with these guys. Uh-oh. Managed to, I guess, get in about as well as we could hope. Yeah, there were a couple of morale shaking. This thing's down to 1 strength point left. Launching attacks with momentum. Let's see how they work out. Close to reasonable odds, things went okay. Over on this side, things were not in good shape, and we lost a unit. We had 1 strength point left, and this one broke. We did manage to drop down into rally, and I will try to take advantage of that. It's going to be kind of painful in some places. I'm in through being, a little sick. Not bad, but a little sick. Just makes it really hard to keep going. So, wasn't able to get this guy in, and he can't move or anything because his morale is broken. I don't think he can rally. Like, I allow formation to be improved in some cases where you can't, I don't know, just to try to, so that units can move, but I don't feel like rallying should be allowed. I don't know. Down here feeling a little bit better. Syrah's charge, I was unable to get him out of it. And unable to get a continuation. That means we should be at a make ready, which is either one of these guys, either of the Spanish. And some recovery among both cav units here. This one I actually had to throw into rally. He had morale hits on him with the army leader far away. And then over here, I threw myself into receive charge. I would have liked to have done it there, but I couldn't. Oops. And fired my artillery to some effect, chewing that up, making that advance even harder. The centers, I think, are pretty potent if you can keep your artillery in place with that advancing fire problem, right? Now, it doesn't hurt. Like this Tercios stuff, it's all high morale. The French stuff isn't. And kind of seeing why the Tercios dominated so much, not really seeing how to beat it. We'll see if the Cav can get me some kind of edge, but so far, well, there's this flank. You know, it turned out to be a pretty quiet turn overall. Mainly recovery stuff. Angam running around doing what he can. We're gonna break here. I'm still not feeling all that great, but you know, whatever. Turn 5 here. I've gone through a number of the activations. All I have left is the 2 rallies, and pretty much nothing's happened. You know, troops reforming, a little bit of edging closer here. Couldn't get out of charge. Able to get out of rally here is problematic, mainly because this unit has had to move itself to get into command. And yeah, that didn't look pretty. Another quick end of the line for another turn when it came down to it. Couldn't get out of rally here either. And rally's an ugly state to get yourself in. You never want to force yourself into it unless you have very few other choices. And so, sometimes you're actually forced into it. But here, this was choice to go into it to try to get a lot of morale recovery or whatever. Not pleasant though. Situations like this are why these battles, when they're short, maybe nothing happens. You know, one quick push, if that doesn't resolve the battle, you might end up stuck in stupid commands if you have not great leaders or whatever for a long time trying to get the battle back into flow. It doesn't happen very often. Usually somebody's got the capability, the initiative or whatever. But, you know, what we just saw, that's a couple of turns that went by, and this artillery is kind of keeping the French forces in a troubled situation where they can't really advance. So we're relying on this guy alone to kind of engage along here. And he wants to. I mean, they both want to get. I'm not sure it's wise, because being the attacker is less valuable with that -3 introduction fire. Being able to march forward and unleash a full salvo, and also without the salvo fire, but being able to march forward and launch a full salvo was an incredibly powerful capability. And I feel like when they took that away, and again, I think they're right to some extent, but I think maybe the penalty's too high, like making it the same as withdrawal fire. Withdrawing your forces, yes, technically it's the same kind of mechanism that you're using. You're firing and then moving, you know, behind the ranks instead of firing and then the next rank moving forward. Technically it's the same kind of thing, so I guess it makes sense, but it really is a strong inhibition on getting up to range 1 and then sort of moving forward and firing. They may have been finding that that was too powerful, that the troops were engaging too much in skirmish, when these are pike formations to some extent, and they want to rely on that as a big part of their combat capability. The firepower is really mixed in. The main thing that's making me not, I mean, look, there's a lot wrong with me right now, right? Like physically. First, the cold and the effects of being out drinking hard, dancing, whatever. But like, I think the worst of it is having slept so long yesterday. I don't know. I have like some bruises that are in stupid places, and like on my hip and stuff like that. I don't know if that was, if I was wearing pants that were too tight when I was dancing, or if I was lying on it, sleeping too long. But like, I got hurt on my back and all kind of places. Just feel tender and sore. My legs still hurt. It's all the little aches and pains that are making it hard. But add to that a little bit of fogginess and a little bit of, my stomach kind of doesn't feel great. Like I want to eat or something. Is kind of the feeling. Much worse yesterday. With the cough and the sniffles and everything. And again, it wasn't that bad a cold. And it feels like it's curing. But I just think that like the cold enhanced what's normally a pretty bad experience the day after dancing. For activations, here in turn 6, French left, flank, 2 wings, moving into position to launch an attack. That puts us over to the receive charges, which are the Spaniards, and that means the guns are going to get another chance to chew up the French position. The question is, do I want to launch a charge against them? They've got a number of weakened units. They're numerically less, and if I break the main force heavy enough, this doesn't become a threat. I don't know what to do over there. That feels like kind of a draw right now, although the French could come around and hit the flank over here if I'm not careful. Turn where the Spaniards aren't able to get out or receive charge, and the artillery didn't do as much. This might be an interesting turn. I'm just worried about the French not being able to hold up against the tercios when it comes down to it. They're just not as good. The French managed to win the battle of the right wing, as far as I can tell. They knocked out the leader. It's down to 1 cav, but they only have 2. Had once chased people off the board, la la la. That leaves us to this. And you know what? I don't want to face that after having done a couple activations on the cav, all the complexity of a charge there. I don't want to face that at this moment. So I'm going to hold off, but that's all that's left. I think it's the pain in my thighs that's the worst. Back unsure if I had the oomph to do a big attack, but I didn't get the rally moved out of. I tried to go to make ready. That's my best chance. Didn't happen. So, nothing really comes of it. I can move Engen somewhere, I guess. Give me a better chance next time if I don't have somewhere better to put him. And that will be a check for the Spaniard as well. That leader is not coming back. I'm kind of glad that nothing happened. I know I wasn't ready to do a big attack before, but now I'm like, yeah, I want to make sure I get to the end of a turn by the end of the night. Well, I'm there. Awoke to a pretty thunder shower today, and I'm feeling a lot better. I still have a cough and a little bit of sniffles and everything. Maybe more of a cough than I did yesterday. But I gotta say, all the aches and pains, they seem to have mostly gone. There's still some hurt around my hips, where I had this weird bruising showing up. I think that's I think that's probably from sleeping in different positions to try to avoid pain. But yeah, most of those pains are gone. And now let's see if the game picks up a little bit. The last couple turns, not much has happened. Yeah, this is kind of cleared up. And here, they're making their way across. But that big center, there's nothing happening. We're kind of crazy back here. These guys could only... they were in charge. One of them attacked. But then they were, wow, yeah, it's bad. Then they were formation broken. And they stayed in charge. Finally, they got into a make ready where they could recover. I gotta remember, this guy's gotta fall into rally. I think it's like 50% of your unit's morale broken. Throw you into rally. I don't remember for sure. But he certainly will have to. Well... I'm not sure how much longer I can go. I'm feeling kind of ill at this point now again. A big smack forward here. First a cav hit, broke or damaged this unit a little bit. Then smacking into these, which went kind of mixed because, you know, we're attacking at about equal odds, essentially. The infantry charge cancels out the cost of coming up under fire. And there's no, advancing fire is fucking useless. You're going to get shot up at much better, at heavier rates. It was already iffy in the sense that the only good thing about it was the salvo fire, but which doesn't exist in this battle. But it was already iffy in that you had to take fire before you return fire. Now, though, you take fire before you return crappier fire. Like, it's not just that you get a couple reductions due to being hit, but you got that big -3 on you as well. And that's kind of the thing. The withdrawal fire, you fire, and then you withdraw, and the return fire, whatever. It was okay that was at -3. I feel like this should be at like -1 or something. I don't know. It just feels too extreme. Yes, it was too powerful, as we saw in the English Civil War one. But anyway, coordination with this cav unit, we were able to destroy one, but we got knocked back pretty hard by another. I think we still have another possible continuation. Which we don't get because he's only a -1. And Engen would not have gotten a chance to move anywhere useful, I guess. Which is going to put us over to this cav command. Now, cav is kind of potent. When they hit the rear of those infantry units, it's not a great hit, but it's okay. As long as they do it with momentum and firing their pistols and everything. Mainly because they don't have to undergo the fire beforehand. But yeah, I have to stop at this point. I'm feeling sick again. Whenever I concentrate on gaming or whatever, I'm standing up, bending over, all kind of stuff like that. Yeah, it's not like I'm doing heavy work or anything. But it hits me harder than doing housework would. Certainly than doing stuff on the computer would. It's almost like that mental energy that I'm performing and the focus and everything is just way too heavy. Sipping coffee was the problem. I've switched to tea. I'm going to leave my coffee for later. But I don't think so. One thing I don't think I mentioned. Last night, I could not sleep. I could not lie down without being in pain. I could kind of lie down on my beanbags, but on the floor, it was just too painful. So I ended up taking a couple of painkillers. Now, I don't normally do that. It's just some naproxen, whatever, stuff that's, you know, over the counter. And I took two. I normally would only take one, but I took two because two fell out, and I was just like, fuck it. There's a lot of pain. Kind of amazed. I mean, it cut it right away. So at least there's that. But I don't want to become, you know, I know a lot of people when they get older start taking painkillers all the time for all the aches and pains, and I'm just like, no, I want to suffer most of them, but I needed to get some sleep. I needed rest. All right, let's move on and see if I can get some more. The rally rules is all units have to be, I think formation broken is also one of them. Morale shaken, morale broken, or formation broken. Eliminated and off map, yeah. So basically, if everything on the map is beaten up, morale shaken is a pretty light one, but I mean, where it really affects you, you'll want to slip into rally, although you might not be able to, if most of your units are in one of those states. Although, not if it's all just formation hits. What really hurts, though, is here where I've got one unit. He could have gone into receive charge or something like that and recovered every bit as much along with other units. And now he can't. I forgot to mention, these guys swerved around here. They didn't get a continuation. And after a continuation that allowed me to do a little bit of recuperation, we see the Tercios unleashed in a charge. We'll see how it works. The high morale means I can take that fire coming in, which is something that the French have generally not been able to do because they're going to take a couple of hits on anything. The 8 morale units, and there aren't a shit ton of them, but there's a good lean, about half of the Spanish aligned forces qualify at that level. That means they can probably take the fire. Not guaranteed. And now I get my hits with momentum in place. But again, momentum's not that big an advantage. It's a +1 for the heavy infantry hitting. It's not like the cav. Over here, my advance was broken up a little bit because this arquebuser here managed to shoot me, and that broke my momentum, so it didn't seem worth closing anymore. All right, let's do all these close combats. That attack was absolutely devastating. Here are the losses. I mean, I don't know how many are from it, but you can see we just broke the front of the French line. Yes, they've still got troops, but they're so heavily outnumbered at this point. And we get a continuation chance. Now, we're not in a position to keep fighting. This is here. Actually, I can do that. Reduce the counters. I find some of the backside counters to be kind of useless. Yeah, it reduces the total number, but let's see what we get here. Yeah, we get a continuation. Now, I want to get out of charge if I can. I think... See, here's the problem. Going from charge, make ready would be the easiest. That's not sufficient because so many of my units have gotten beat, have taken formation hits at this point, that I really need to go to receive charge or rally. I'm going to go for receive charge, but damn, it's harder to get to. We get there. Positioned in such a way that I basically had two sections that with a little bit of fiddling, I was able to command everything and get them all into good order, more or less. I wasn't able to raise the morales. This guy was lost. He had to wander closer. This guy, I could only do a formation change on him because I couldn't get a leader there to improve his morale, or a formation improvement. But that's okay. He was formation broken. So, that's one I really want to get. That ends them. I think that's going to put me to the... Wow, I still have this in rally, huh? How about that? And he's got to stay there, actually. So I think that puts me to the rally down here, both the rallies, and then we'll stop for the turn because I'm feeling a little feverish. I took another one of those pseudo aspirin whatevers, hoping that'll cut it down a little bit. But I usually don't mind fevers, but I need to think right now for this. It's the end of the line here, I guess. I think this battle is over. It's still got a little bit of play to be certain, but I think that hit of the Spanish infantry was enough. It was sort of this, hey, can I get the flanking and the cav in to do something before the battle's decided? Because honestly, the Tercios is just too powerful to face. It really is. Still, supposedly, the French, historically the French won Rocroi, but I think it's a tough call. The thing they have to rely on is their better leadership, and they weren't really getting the advantage they wanted. Also, French attacks didn't work very well. Spanish attacks did because of that higher morale. I don't know how you're supposed to manipulate the French units to make them work okay against the Tercios. This is not, I don't know what to put them as. The Dutch reforms that Maurice and whatnot put into play. This is not an army that has that kind of firepower. And that's why the salvos aren't there and everything. It was just sort of, hey, the Tercios can actually be beaten now, And we got some retreats and whatnot to do, too. We managed to get all the morale back. I want to eat when I'm sick. And a part of that is moving my jaw in that sort of way loosens up my nose and everything. I kind of think I should get some chewing gum or something for when I'm sick. Lozenges don't do it, but the chewing does, and slurping hot liquids does too. I don't know. I don't know what's up with it, but yeah, I'm not particularly hungry, but I'm feeling kind of dizzy and nauseous. That's usually a sign of hunger, so it's like, oh, I must be. There's that too. It just makes me feel better, right? It's like it's not what I need, but I don't know what I need. There we go, with coffee, which isn't wise, but Surratt's command couldn't get out of charge and ended up slamming in here, getting defeated on a bad roll, losing the arquebusiers who were thrown into the fight. If I had won the first attack, they wouldn't get hurt, but and they provided some advantage there. I guess we have a continuation chance, which does not succeed. And, at this point, the French are kind of having to take some risks. Some high rolls of the dice or whatever, hoping for. And Yeah, they're not turning out. You know, I was thinking, the way I am when I'm sick, it's kind of like how I am normally. It's just worse. So, like I've got clear reasons why I'm unable to do things as well. You know, so I don't want to go out and do anything, and I've got good reason not to, right? But the same kind of disincentive feels like it's there. It's just weird. Anyway, that make ready is him and there. So it's going to be our side next. Continuations I want. So for example, up here, you know, I moved in behind, didn't get it. I didn't get the charge I wanted to begin with. I didn't get the continuations as I moved behind those units. These could be potentially big hits. And then over here, this, you know, still in make ready, and that's where I want it to be because I'm just doing reform actions. But again, no continuations, getting kind of boned by those die rolls, which means we're back up to here. Engham is in some danger. You know, it's going to depend on whether or not the Spaniards can reform their entire force and launch an attack. Kind of a weird situation because I have to make my orders change before I fire my guns. They could soften up some of these positions. Most of my units are in pretty good order, but not all of them. And it's kind of a question, do I want to stay and receive charge, where with a little bit of shifting I can get this into command and rally it, if the leader goes there. I don't know if he's within range. Yeah, he's close enough that he could, because he just has to be adjacent under his wing command capability. And meanwhile, the army leader can try to rally those forces. Or, you know, do I want to go into a make ready where I can handle much of this? There's not a lot that's formation shaken. There's this unit, and I don't really need them. These aren't going to be in command unless I throw my leader over there, so one of them will shift and whatnot. A couple of them will shift to get in command. It's just it's a hard decision to make as to, you know, do I want to get my troops into the best shape they can be, or do I want to break a few more French units? I think I'm going to go for the charge, which only works on a 0 through 4, but that's almost as good as getting to the make ready. And worst comes to worst, I stay in the receive charge. Okay, get charge. This is the shot before the hits start coming. We're not seeing any momentums or anything. This is mainly pivoting around, hitting units. These guys got broken, but another unit, and this one I think, broke the unit that broke, or destroyed the unit that broke them. You know, there's a fair, oh, there is a momentum here. There is a fair amount of chaos going on. Destroyed unit was sitting with the wing commander for that center wing, which means it's locked out. It does nothing this turn. Kills on the French units. Let's I could have moved this. Yeah, that's not going to help. No. Could move this to take command of those, but actually depending on what we slip into, because I think we need to recover. Let's try a continuation here. That's not going to work. But, yeah, I mean, right now the weight of the Spanish forces is enough to just take the French down. I think I missed some opportunities to fire cannons. This one fired. I don't know why I didn't mark that. In terms of op fire and stuff like that, without realizing, oh yeah, I'm going to lose my leader, you know, which was kind of a mistake. And that's often the case, is like you're holding off your fires till when you know the most, and maybe you can get a good shot lined up, like something where you can hit multiple units or something, but here they're too close. So now I search for commands that are available, and I think the only one left is this one. That leader, the only thing he's worth is victory points, because colonels aren't worth shit. So he is dead. This is, I believe, the situation at the end of the turn, and I gotta find me a colonel, which I have here. I don't know. Put him here, because if I get out a rally, that'll be helpful. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna take a while to happen, but the Spaniards are going to, you know, go through that normal procedure, recover their units, get them together, get ready for another smash, etc. Could things go terribly horrible for them? Conceivably, I could get a really awful string of die rolls or something on my attacks. That's really about it. I actually have one of those fairly rare conditions. This force is under charge with a -1 leader. This force is under charge with a -1 leader. And nothing else is. So we'll roll odd French. So the French have to go first. And after a continuation, first we managed to knock out a unit with a coordinated attack of infantry and cap. And then we got a continuation and launched an attack on this, but we were bounced off its rear. We actually had pretty good odds on it, you know, and that would make a big difference to kind of, you know, start clearing some of the flank here. The numbers don't look good for the French, but it's hard to tell for sure just looking at the counters. There are a lot of leaders, there's a lot of everything on both sides lost. This is a big battle. So it could come out as a close victory for one side or the other. Maybe it's not quite the blowout it looks like. And then the main Spanish wing, all but one piece really, drops itself into rally and tries to recover its units. One of the units got shot and destroyed. It was down to one strength point left off the side of here. You know, I mean, that went from 7 victory points to 10, and it clears out a pretty useless piece. So it's not that terrible a thing to have happen. I was trying to trade shots. We both got a hit. That is going to put the world down to, as we're getting to where the game starts getting a little easier, to one of these two. And I think I want to do this one first, because these guys are not going to be impacted by anything the Spaniards can do. Problems as we come to the Spaniards, anything they kind of do can potentially be intercepted. I don't really want to get into charge. I want to protect my flank over here, I think, more than anything else. But, you know, there's a chance I just die from trying to maneuver around there. They were knocked out by the interceptions, which puts us back over here. And then this, which maybe actually does want to rally, I don't know. So it's just hard. When you're this beaten up, it's just hard. The hell is that? Yeah. And that's the end of the line over here. Not much happening. Let's see if we lose that leader. Yep. Just for victory points. And that puts us another way down. And I mean, yeah, the Spaniards have overwhelming force, but I don't know. They have no cav left, and that can be pretty devastating. As you can see, these guys keep not getting a chance to attack. Cav can be really, really violating to these big infantry formations when they hit them from behind. They could also fuck up and get their asses kicked. You know, it doesn't tend to be huge. Plus, there's the possibility of taking the guns out. I don't know where victory points are in this one. They're probably... I thought they were over here. Maybe they're in the base rolls. In the scenario book in This Accursed Civil War, but these are different ones. So casualty cav are a higher cost than I thought they were. Light infantry are still not worth anything. Disabled guns. Looks like only the doubles give victory points. That's kind of weird. And named wing commanders, if they're not worth anything, if they have a 0 command, now they're not worth anything at all. Oh, replacements are never worth anything. Okay. So yeah, that we're gonna have to be more careful with the points, because I think they were simpler over on the Civil War. But we're gonna go away. I feel okay, but like don't want to just keep pushing on, and I don't feel that okay. I used to use preemption a lot more. This is one of the few times where I'm thinking about doing it, because Engen is out here and could be captured, and he's worth a lot of points. Right now, Sirat's command is moving forward. I've got to take care of this charge first, but I can't. The first time I've wanted to do it in the last, you know, between this and This Accursed Civil War. Yeah, the reason you don't want to do it is, unless you're in charge, the odds are pretty low, and you end up losing a lot of your capabilities on a failure without hurting the enemy at all. But in rally, I can't do it. And this gun should be recharged. Don't know why it isn't. Wonder what else I missed. All right. A combination of effects in play. The advantage of having cav when the opponent doesn't have any. These guys positioning themselves, getting into position, you know, to start smacking into the rear here. But this finally got to hit. It killed 2 units. Without a pursuit, well, no, this unit is not dead. Without a pursuit or anything, but off the map, but, you know, plus took out a couple of these guns. And now the French position, to me, feels like keep falling back with the infantry and using the cav to threaten the Spaniards. Now, the Spaniards can hedgehog. Or try to form like a huge square or something like that, which would give them a lot of defense. Because the Spanish units are higher quality, they can probably hold off against the French. We got the replacement army commander there. I don't know what they're worth. I don't remember. But that puts me to the rally, and here it's time to kind of make some hefty decisions, like, can I bust up the French, or do I want to pull back and try to recover? It's a really hard call across the board, especially without my army leader able to run around and fix units. Like, I don't really have a good option right now. In particular, my command and control is really at a mess with this one huge unit split up into lots of different pieces. We could come to, these guys are going to start running. These guys flipped around. That gives them some protection against an interception or whatnot. I'm not even sure I'm not able. I think I actually have to move these guys. So they spent 2. I think they have to move into here at 3, which means I'm not going to get a continuation, which means this could make an interception against them. I don't know how valuable that is, but then I can't move adjacent to anyone. So this gets me closer, and now maybe the interception's more interesting. Not to, actually this guy might be able to do it. How shot up is he? I don't know. I'm choosing not to take it because I think I can kind of cut this thing apart, what's over here, without having to rely on what are non-momentum attacks. Like, the odds aren't that great with the Cav, even with the momentum, so I'm a little worried about engaging at that. Of course, I could blow something like this away, but I'd rather use infantry to do that, no risk of running off board. That now puts me on the French, who are in rally right now, and is that their best action? This is what they have. I don't think I want to be in rally because no chance of continuations, and I'd like to be able to use my commander. But I also don't think I want to press the attack because I'm outnumbered, and I would rather let the Cav harass them for a while. A little bit of pulling back. Everybody's in command now. Some recuperation where possible. Like this guy had a formation broken. But also my guns are now in play and are screwing with the Spaniards' capability to maneuver in any sort of sense. Let's see about that Spanish leader. Yeah, he's dead too. I don't know if he recuperates. That's one I have to look up. So we have a senior wing commander who's Albuquerque. He is already gone. But, yeah, he's gone for real. So I'm not going to have an army commander anymore for the Spaniards. And this could turn out a lot worse at this point. For whatever it's worth, actually, I think I got a shot here. That was recent. I was going to say, I didn't get a shot with my Spaniards when I could have taken one, but I think I get one in reaction to this guy making a formation change. No, artillery fire is only all triggers. Okay. So yes, I actually do get a shot there. Which, it's for him trying to reform. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm far enough that it works. I'm at 7, so it's a -1. And I do a lot of harm to it. It does not reform, and it has to make a morale check as well. change things. It's fine. Yeah, so this is the position we're in at the end of the turn. Not really sure, you know. I don't know how much damage those couple of cav units and this flanking force can do, but the problem is this is a monolithic force that I can't do anything. I can't, I can't dispatch. If there had been someone who maybe didn't chase off the board, although there doesn't appear to be anything like that, or if I could like order a colonel to take a small force or something. It feels like there should be something along those lines. When you have such a huge force that you should be able to break it up. Maybe with a worse certainly with a worse commander. But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I feel kind of handcuffed as the Spaniards in a sense that I'm not sure really would happen. And especially without the army commander left anymore, I don't have the capability to just jump someone in and get additional rallies or anything. Now, obviously, there should be some sort of penalty for that kind of for trying to divide up a force in the midst of a battle or something like that. But on the other hand, it also should probably be possible. Interesting sort of clean sequence or cycle that happens in this game when, you completely control the initiative as the French do with their side units. Things here are not so clear, but, attack, then recover, then try to get back to attack, then recover, etc. When both sides are playing, it's a lot harder because, you might want to attack at times when you would think you'd be recovering or whatever, just because you have the advantage. But when you have the pure initiative, you just want to do different things. Now this, I can just let this run off map. It's moving faster than I recall. I thought these things only moved 2 hexes, and I've been doing that for most of the scenario. And then when I looked in the Saints in Armor, at least, I got a 4 hex. Maybe it was this one. Yeah, it would have been this one. They must move their full non-routed movement allowance. I don't know if I misread something before. It is changed, so it may have they may have sped up the routers. I think that's a good idea. A routed mass is going to move about as fast as any formed unit would to get out of danger. I'm getting confused. I thought this was part of his command. This was part of his command, and I had to move it into command where it once was in command to make things actually work, and I had to not repair this unit. It still gets confusing, even with the little letters on them, as to who belongs to what, because those little letters don't show up on the back side of the counters. We got the battle on the back side, but not the command that they're in. I'm of mixed feelings with this. I think the command is the more important thing to be on both sides, but I can kind of see if you're sorting, you want the letters on for the battle on both sides, but I actually think once you've got the counters on the board, you're going to have to deal with them being on the backside a lot of the times, and I think they made the wrong choice of which one to exclude. There's not enough room on the counters. One could make an argument when they're flipped over to have both letters there, because there's like a formation shaken here where that second letter is. I would rather have, if they're going to have both on the front, I would rather have just the wing that they belong to on the back out of the two, because it's not that hard. First of all, when you're first punching them, they have that letter distinction. If you're used to the system, you just bag them that way. And secondly, it's not that hard when you're sorting your counters to make them all be face up. But in the midst of a battle, it's of no use to know which battle they were in. Shifting where your commander is, you can do some really funky stuff in terms of like, oh, now I'm out of command. The commander was right here. I don't have to attack this unit. I can try to get back in command instead. A little too excited hitting this unit from behind. My infantry did not get the kill, and that meant the Cav got the kill. Sirach got injured on it. Wish I'd held him back. And we're in charge, but without a commander, so we'll need another colonel there probably. Is that the Cav killing ended up running off the map after them. And a couple more kills out here with the Cav. They were safe kills. The Cav is much more disciplined in these scenarios. But they ended up all damaged enough that I had to throw myself into rally, thus ending my little reign of terror up there. And that means that the Spaniards get to go. And it's really kind of a question of how much can the Cav pick off? I don't know. But the army commander is doing a job, running his way back up here, trying to recover units. This is really turning. Like, it looked like the Spanish had the definite advantage numerically, but now these big units are just getting plucked off. Boom, boom, boom. Real easy by the Cav hitting them in the rear. There's nothing you can do about Cav. I mean, you can form a hedgehog or something. That's about it. Anything else is just going to... I mean, you can make a big square, but anything else, I can't turn and fight them. I can't chase them down. They'll run away. And just not a lot of options available to me. I'm trying to figure out how to get into a hedgehog, but I feel like I have to remain in receive charge at least once to recover, I guess, these two. It's just really hard. It's really hard. They are a very disruptive factor. I can't even chase them off to create space, really, without being in charge, which is really rough. Also doesn't give you any particular benefit in close combat. It does prevent you from getting beat up by formation hits, but it doesn't give you a direct advantage. Now, what it does do is it prevents the Cav from being able to get it prevents flank and rear hits from happening. But it really fucks you up for firepower, and you're not allowed to shoot. So it's a whole bunch of like, wow, I don't know how much that's helpful. Forming a big square of real units is definitely a stronger position, because then you get your firepower capability, and you still can't really be attacked from the flanks unless things start breaking apart. But I'm having a lot of trouble maneuvering myself into that kind of position. Anyway, here I am in receive charge, trying to get a continuation so that I can try to improve my situation. I actually manage it. Now, what do I do? Jeez. Like, I feel like I need more space, and I need charge to get that space. And I don't know how... Like, you know, this guy's going to get hit in the ass eventually if I stay like this. But if I form hedgehog, the infantry is going to wipe me out, and the artillery is going to wipe me out. So all kind of ickiness happening. Yuck. And the charge is going to force me to attack, which I don't want to do. I just don't know what to do. The best I could come up with, creating a little bit of a square here, a hedgehog here. These guys needed to reform, and so they're going to be threatened by that. And I wasn't able to get another continuation, which might have allowed me to back up into more of a circle. Yeah, I just don't know. Now this cav might want to circle around so that it gets momentum, but it can do that without actually, you know, it can form that charge up after it reforms itself. Yeah, it's not an optimal situation. Just if this unit wasn't here, I think I would have been able to form something kind of nice. That is going to put me to, I think, not the last, because this guy's in rally here. Didn't he just kill people? Oh. Getting lost as to which unit. Surat is gone. I guess this guy is actually in rally. In rally, I'm just not sure, did I move him? And I kind of think I did. Like, I think he attacked and then slipped into rally this turn. So I'm going to mark him as finished, because I'm pretty sure he was in charge before. Not positive, though. Never positive in this game. Like, that could have been the last turn. I don't know. But anyway, let's figure out what the French troops are going to do. I don't know what it is. Might just be fall back and use my guns to cover me and let the cav have its day. And so I guess that's the end of the line. It's a check for Surat here. We did get everybody in command, at least. He's not coming back. Which means a colonel over with his forces somewhere. Next turn, the Surat command, which again, I got things confused in terms of who was where. L'Hopital was in charge of the wrong unit and not flipped and whatnot. But anyway, moving the infantry forward, did not get a continuation, but I managed to capture the remainder of the guns. So there's that. And now we go to the Spaniards, who are at least in a make ready at this point. As the Spaniards try to form some kind of square or something with their whole force. I think that's actually what historically happened. I don't remember. Yeah, but this was 5 Spanish battalions. We have a lot more than that. The Spanish are doing a lot better than they did historically at this kind of point in the game or in the battle. This unit advanced. L'Hopital charged it with an interception, which might not be wise. I have to check his death for having fought in a close combat. He's fine. He ended up breaking on it, but the formation shaken result means that this unit was stopped by the hit, which kind of has some of the effect I wanted. The danger would be if I lost L'Hopital, and I got to kind of figure out who's where. Like this, I think, is a L'Hopital unit, whereas this is not. You know, everything's kind of jumbled together and nothing's in command. But if I can kind of keep a hole in that square where I don't even get shot for attacking through it, that will be very effective. As it kind of stands, I don't know. If that square gets formed, the French may be able to put a minor victory in their pocket, and that might be good enough at this point, because if that does form, I think the French are going to have a hard time cracking it. They don't have a lot of the big infantry battalions. They can soften it up with artillery and see what happens. That might work, but it might not. And I don't know. The problem, though, was L'Hôpital's forces were not in good condition to launch an attack. So, although I had to take make ready to begin, I was stuck in make ready for one, I got a continuation, threw myself into receive charge, and I'm improving that circumstance. But it may well be that they can form something that I don't want to attack. It's not going to take a lot more moves on their part. But maybe they don't have a lot more, and hitting this unit from behind or whatever, you know, kind of breaks that whole thing. Then this unit has to fall back and all kind of crap like that. Historical results after the Spaniards managed to form a big square, actually a couple of hedgehogs, was essentially that the French negotiated a deal. It goes against some earlier reports, and apparently the earlier view was that the Spaniards fought to the bloody end, but honors of war were negotiated and the Spaniards were allowed to march away. But the French end up winning the battle. Now, I'm going to have to do a calculation if I'm coming to that kind of decision as to whether or not that I want to negotiate. The French can basically withdraw whenever they want. And we reposition our forces and are set up in a position where I think we went for charge. We're just going to lumber forward and get the hits that we want and see if we can just break this whole thing up. Approach is so-so. These guys were repulsed by fire. We got a bunch of hits coming in here that aren't bad. Let's see what they work out to. Results were not great. I pushed a couple of the Spanish troops back, but also had some of my own beaten up pretty badly in terms of morale broken. I want my chipmunk again. I'm so happy to have a chipmunk. Well, among other things, we check for a continuation. Unfortunately, Ingham threw himself into the battle too, which is always risky. I think this is my first continuation check, but I don't get any bonuses. And we're done, and this is not good. The only thing left is back here. I want to get into some other kind of command so that I can move Ingham around and fix things. Well, I didn't get any continuations anyway, which means we got some routes coming up here, as well as fixing things at the end of the turn. What it looks like as we move into turn 13. It's time for me to take another break. There's still enough going on that a turn is a decent amount of time. No longer I'm doing one command at a time. I'm also feeling a little better. Not tremendous, but you know. I mean, it's obvious I'm still sick, but like, kind of doesn't matter much. My illness has taken an ugly turn. And diarrhea and whatnot. And on top of that, I got the sniffles back bad. I'm on some drugs now. I take some like NyQuil pills or something like that. I had to take them the first night, or I had to take one the first night. Took one today. It didn't let me fall asleep, but I'm like, okay, at least I can breathe a little better. My stomach seems to have quelled a bit. All right, well, the French have a couple of commands, and I believe this is the S. Siro or whatever, and then the main infantry. And after the failure of my attempted assault, yeah, I definitely don't want this charge underway. I don't know what's up with that. This is beginning to get confused enough that I'm thinking I want to use those. L'Hôpital is this. This guy's under charge. I slammed into the ass of this thing and bounced off of it in the full +4 and everything, and then didn't get a continuation. That'll put me to these fuckers, and I'm just not sure. I wanna pull back. There's no question about that. Somewhat risky move of dropping into make ready. Rally is a lot easier to get into, but I still haven't fired my artillery. I ought to do that now, because it kind of doesn't matter what the Spaniards do. I want to get my shots off at this point. And I just noticed an S unit here that I have to charge with, so I'm going to rewind back and take care of that. With me being successful, charge coming down against actually the stronger of the units here, breaking that up. That opens up some of these rears, making it harder to avoid French cav attacks that might come from L'Hôpital. However, this guy is there. I believe that's going to put it on the main Spanish force. And I'm really trying to juggle my units to get them into position. But, you know, the formation brokens. And oh, I forgot to fire my artillery. Now I go back to firing the artillery. Yeah, the state of my illness has increased my fuzziness again in my brain. Able to improve their position due to a received charge, but it's not enough. I've got this unit facing the wrong way. I don't have things buttoned up as a nice little circle. The French are gonna be able to get in there, and assuming that their cav kind of survives for enough hits, they're gonna do some real damage. And we got a fair amount of activations total, allowing Engen to move around and affect a lot of troops. But some key things: swinging L'Hôpital over towards here, not there, here, where he's got his force aligned to go smashing into these at a quicker initiative than the Spaniards do. And likewise, who is they? Gassion, who is very, very good, has pushed his way from up around here, where I could have swung around, but I felt like L'Hôpital and Siro could do the work. I need some work over here to bust into where there's flanks showing there. The infantry is less effective at those kind of attacks. And I figure, hey, if I've only got one unit under this great commander, let's get him moving up there. Back down here, it's Tuesday, and I'm still not feeling well. today would be the day that I would go out gaming. You know, it's funny, when I was feeling well, when I was feeling at my best, this kind of grayish weather and everything, it reminded me that winter's coming and all that. And just tremendous sadness, missing my wife, all that. Just hits. You know, I mean, the first few months or whatever were like that constantly. But since then, it's like little twinges throughout the day, but yesterday was worse than usual. And it just doesn't go away. It would if I, you know, if I found someone else, but that's not going to happen. I'm too old at this point. And too sick right now. Anyway, I think it's the Surratt command that's got that charge order, so we shall go forward with that. And it's beginning to look like there might be more Spaniards on the dock. It's hard to tell because I got them set up differently. Bitch, I'm hunting under these, and I find L'Hôpital on top of a right-wing cavalry. That's this guy's command. I thought he was down to one piece. Somehow or another, I've attached him to L'Hôpital's command. This is a real problem with the system, is when you get wings next to each other. And the little letters, yeah, theoretically they help, but, you know, that it requires a lot of examination. You have to have the suspicion already to go looking, because those letters are awfully tiny. They're awfully tiny. And my eyes aren't what they used to be and whatnot. I think something that people learned, if wing commands and whatnot are important, you put a coloration difference in them, or formation commands, whatever. Like the Civil War games I'm used to have like a band or something like that on all the units, and it becomes obvious which is with what. Here, you've got all kinds of colors on these units. They don't mean a damn thing for game purposes. Those are nationalities and stuff like that. A lot of that color marking could be used to distinguish something else. Just saying. Put the nationality in a couple little letters if you want to. Because it doesn't matter for gameplay. Pretty exciting turn. Unfortunately, I didn't feel like stopping. I don't know why. Cav units came in, broke up some of the formation a little bit. Then the infantry came in, had kind of mixed results. Didn't really get too hammered, but also didn't cause the kind of damage that Cav did. But you can see we've broken that Spanish formation pretty hard. And what do we have here? We have 2 leaders to check. We have Gassion, who left the map and might come back. Not quite. This is a problem because I don't have another colonel, I think. Oh wait, is this a colonel? No, this is a Guishi. Yeah, I don't think I have another colonel kicking around for them. I can go hunt for one, but also there's the main commander, and this meant the Spaniards didn't get a reaction at all. And he is also dead, and he gets replaced by someone. Don A. Mello. He's the brother of the army commander who's gone. I don't know who these M. de Campos are. I got 2 of them here. Oh, it's 2 of the same guy, which I found really weird. Vera was here, Viviero there. Oh. Strato is here. Well, why I have 2 of that guy there? I don't see any sign that he was used in this battle. Maybe I pulled him out of another battle or something. Let's get him out of there. But yeah, otherwise, we just have to clean up some of the messes. I find kind of interesting. The unable to retreat table is not that nasty. The fact that it turns you from morale broken to morale shaken for the most part. Not always. Sometimes it doesn't have that effect at all. But the fact that it changes you from morale broken to morale shaken means good quality units are likely to recover if they're backed up. Again, it makes sense. It really does. But normally I feel like in most games, being unable to retreat is just a horrible thing. You end up, either disrupting the guy you have to retreat through or disintegrating or whatever kind of automatically. I find this kind of intriguing, the idea that like backing your line up actually has some positive effects. And the Spaniards definitely got that a couple of times with their high quality units not being able to retreat. They end up with, I mean, you're looking at a 50-50, right? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, more than 50-50. You're looking at a 60% chance on the base morale of 7. Now, a 6 has real trouble, or less. But an 8 gets even better. Of being able to recover from something that might have destroyed you. Now, Cav cut these units up because they get the pursuit capability and whatever, so they have a tendency to knock them out of existence. Things are looking pretty bad for the Spaniards again. I was thinking, it looks like they're going to solidify. It doesn't really. It looks like the attrition attacks that the French are going to be able to put will be sufficient. But again, there's a lot of losses on both sides. I feel like absolute shit, so I don't know if I'm going to be back down for a while. He's passing with me, almost unable to do anything. I can't remember the last time I was this particular kind of sick. I've been sicker, but like just the combination of like a head cold and stomach problems and everything. Wow. I turned off because I said what I wanted to say there. At the beginning of this next turn, the Spaniards are in receive charge. Everything else, all the French are in charge. But it's kind of hard. Like, the unit that I most want to move is Surat in terms of being in good shape. But he doesn't have a clear path to the Spaniards. And I'm kind of having a trouble finding any command that I actually want to move. I think I want to get things out of Surat's way, but that's kind of a shame because I want Engum to be rallying the stuff that needs rallying. Most of the commands had to drop right into rally, which does me no good at all. I think a lot of them are going to have to, because I just think that they have the prerequisites on all of their units. Right, then the big hit by the infantry, and one of the French infantry was destroyed, hitting this in the flank and rear. But we're breaking it up even more. They're down to just 4 of these big units. We managed to take out the leader. See if he survives it. Kind of doesn't matter. Oh, look, he does. How about that? And we'll get our recoveries off of that. But yeah, I think we're going to be able to pick off all the Spanish units. That's not something you usually see. But this is a nice long battle, giving enough time to play it all out. I think the game kind of cheats. So like there are no hours on this. over on the English Civil War ones, they made them like 20-minute turns or something, 15, 20-minute turns. I think that's wrong. Like, I think they're kind of abstract, the same way that, like, turns in Men of Iron are kind of abstract. And usually in the great battles of history, I don't think you can really put a timer on these. I know they did ones where there's heat and stuff like that to recover stuff. But I think the truth of the matter is, yes, you could figure out how far the troops could actually move. But that's sort of, that gives you a minimum amount of time for each turn, kinda. And it doesn't always apply. Like, I think time is a lot fuzzier in this than you would think, compared to, say, most more modern gunpowder games. Okay, well, it's time to do the between turn cleanup, I guess. And yeah, and not going to be able to do more after that. Kind of glad the Spaniards got their leader knocked off, because it means once again I don't have to make hard decisions with their pieces. The French will just keep coming and keep hitting them. So back down here, not in good shape. Tried taking a pill to cut the pain. Can't sleep. Mainly for nose stuff, and I don't want to take one of those pills. They're harder to get and deal with and everything. And if it doesn't work, I'll feel shittier. The French center is still in charge. It's beaten up. I got some units here. Well, I got one unit here that's formation broken. I've got other, no, I could use Engen to start recuperating that. I've got other units, though, that can hit in here pretty easily. I don't think this guy can, but I think it's worth continuing the charge. First of all, it has the best chance of continuations and whatnot. So, the cost may not be that high. But also, I'm wearing those Spaniards down pretty hard. Strikes by the infantry, which punched their way through. Then Surratt's wing came through. Actually, I think I sent L'Hôpital through first. And I don't know where he is. Oh, he's over here. This is part of Surratt, which is up here. Getting itself into position. Now, they went into a charge, which is awfully cool, but it didn't work terribly well. I punched my way here, forced this to make a stand or die, and it stood. I almost might have to switch to Hedgehog, just because there's nothing left, basically. But anyway, all we have left on the French is Gassion's former wing under some other named guy, because I'm out of colonels, who I don't know. I think this is his only unit, but I can't tell anymore. This might be his. That's left wing. That is not him. L'Hôpital is left wing. Yeah, so this is him alone. But I do have a chance to try to recuperate those Spanish troops. I'd like to get them off the board or something. There's no rules for that, and they're really not able to do it except by routing. The unit that I just pushed around, I took out with fire when it tried to rally or reform. It only had one strength point left. But, I'm attacking it at +3, +4, whatever, and it's still not enough to get me to that 9. You got to roll. You got a 60% chance of taking something out. We had a pretty good chance. We got a continuation. We didn't get a switch into charge to be able to smack into this and finish it off. This might have been a better move, but I set myself up with this because I had Engen over there. Gave me all kind of good chances. That ends up being end of turn. Getting to when the battle's going to end on its own, just because you make the charges, you got to reform. Yeah, there's just not enough stuff left, and everything keeps hitting. But anyway, let's stop for now and see if I can get some sleep or something. But I've got like Baseball Mogul, I've got my Crusader Kings. I'd like to be able to play one of those while I'm feeling this shitty. I find that playing a video game or something helps distract me from my misery. I don't have to come down here. Like, this really kind of is too much of a burden, but I couldn't get into Baseball Mogul last time I tried playing it. The last few times I tried playing it, I think I talked to you about this before, back in the last series from this. But man, I just like, I play a season, it's okay. I have to let everybody go because the people that I have that are good are asking way too much money and I can't afford them. And like, the next season's going to be shitty. And I just can't convince myself to go with that. I know how to get myself, after the first few seasons, into a good team that pays for itself. It doesn't reflect... the problem is the economics to the game. It doesn't reflect that old-time baseball very well. They ask way too much money. They're way too demanding. The teams don't have that money. They pay it, they go bankrupt. They can't afford it, and after like 3 years you can come back in and start playing again. But it's just pissing me off. And then I remember, with Crusader Kings, how slow it fucking got after I worked my way up towards Crusade era. And I'm like, oh God, I need to buy an SSD or something to make that game work, I think. It is Thursday. I completely missed yesterday. I was too fucking sick. My little Chippy is... You can't really see him on the screen because it's... But he's popping around in the wood pile. I really wish that, like, one had moved in before my wife died. It would have made her very happy to have one popping around out there. It's a good excuse for leaving a pile of burnables so close to the house. Anyway, I was too sick to come down here for all of yesterday, basically. I did undertake something that maybe isn't so wise, which is I ended up using my wife's computer because I need to transfer over to it, basically. And I've got certain things that scare me that are happening. Nothing, just like that my Gmail might not be accessible from my old computer. I've got it set up so that I can get in there pretty easily. But I wanted to make sure. But while I was there, I also I picked up a Steam game that was horrible. It's in development or whatever. It was only like $2. So I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, it wasn't anywhere near as cool as I expected. In fact, it's basically unplayable. And I need that computer to access Steam as well. But I finally said fine, and I pulled down the current Godforge alpha test. I had skipped the first one just because it meant switching computers, and playing it on that computer, and I just didn't want to cope with it. And I basically played that all day yesterday while watching videos and lying down in between, trying to nap and whatnot. And yeah, I'm not in good shape even now. everything aches, like deep down in the bones. And I don't know what's going on. I can't remember something quite like this that wasn't a lot worse. Like, you know, racked with fever and stuff for several days. So I don't know what's going on. I certainly have my fevers. Anyway, we're at the start. We're running out of time here. And I got to try to figure out whose command means what. That would have been very helpful. This is going to be the Spanish command. These I have positioned near the commanders, so this has to be the Surat command that's under charge. And we'll see. We'll see if I can finish this up. I don't think I'm going to be able to go dancing tomorrow. If I feel at all sick, I'm not going to. Is that him just sitting out there? There he is. Just sitting there, chilling out. Okay. Surat's units attacked, and it turned out at bad odds, at -1. Got blown back. The Cav, with just 1 strength point, I think, 2, doesn't matter. 1 strength point. The most you get off of size differential is a -2. So he was able to hit this and get to a +4. And got a low enough rating that roll that he didn't destroy it. But anyway, this was unable to get out of make ready. Repositioned himself. I'm looking for Chipmunk again. You don't see that. I just get distracted. I'm moving these command markers around with, you know, because this is like a single unit here. Right next to the commanders. And you could argue, look, it would be helpful there, and it might be under some circumstances, but I gotta tell you, this is the right wing of the French army, okay? Being able to find that would be pretty damn hard if I didn't have the marker right on him. Like, I'd have to search through a lot of stuff, because he was sitting over here in the center of something, center left, I guess. It's just everything's become so chaotic at this point as we hunt down those remaining Spaniards that the commands near the units is still more helpful. The only case where it was problematic was just coming to it after a new day, but I think I would have had trouble either way. And everything was clear to me once I figured out, you know, how I had it notated. That'll bring me over to L'Hôpital with the left wing into charge, but I want to point something out that came to mind. Once an army is broken down into a lot of really small wings, the army commander is really powerful. You're still getting the same kind of number of activations, but you have a lot less units to go around rallying. He's able to keep the French in really good order. This feels a little paradoxical to me. Yes, he should still be good. There's no question, you know, his capability to rally troops and whatnot. But that in-person facet seems like absolutely, like, not what an army commander is good at. The army commander should, I don't know. I don't know what. You know, it may be appropriate for this time period, but... You know, I'm thinking about like a Wellington or something. He wasn't all that effective. He was effective at stiffening units after they fell back or whatnot, but he didn't tend to go to the front all the time. This guy is running around. Now, he's not at the front, but he's close enough he'd be in danger if the Spaniards could ever get a turn. Not really, because their units are so battered, but entirely in the French direction. These guys got a nice shot in and melted one of the French units. Firepower is really useful against small units, which is why Cav can't charge the front of these musketeer units. And they shouldn't be charging the front of anything, but they might not be bad doing a frontal charge in some cases. But we were only able to get one activation out of it. And that throws us, I think, to this rally, which is the main center. Now, I do not need rally. Commander's over here. Engen did not get to change. So we want to get into the thing that we can most get into. Make ready seems fine. It has the best chance, so let's try for that, and we succeed. And then we'll see if we can get a continuation or anything, but if we can bring those troops up, that would be helpful. And that should be the end of the line for this turn. We got 3 more turns left. You know, are we going to be able to kill them all? Are there going to be costs that make up the difference? I think the Spaniards are going to lose this one. It just looks like they have more casualties. And what was the victory conditions for this one? The French need a lot more points than the Spaniards do. Wowzer. They had a bigger army to begin with. We shall see. A larger army generally is going to give you the victory, and with better leadership, it really should have, but I don't know. What gets me is I feel sicker than I did, say, on Tuesday, right? Still. Yesterday was really bad, but it's like, how the hell, maybe not as bad as Saturday was, but I'm not feeling it anywhere. You know, it's not like it feels like another infection has hit or something like that. Sometimes it goes down into my chest and it's really bad. I'm not getting that because I have chronic bronchitis. You know, had it since before I started smoking. And I probably had something really nasty when I was young. And, you know, like me, my parents didn't really, you know, a cold, work your way through it. It didn't go to the doctor, didn't get a lot of antibiotics and stuff. Anyway, here we are. We got Surratt's command. And then, you know, I think we can wipe them all out, but I don't know. Surratt's infantry is just not in a position where it can, like, attack successfully. At least not against a unit that's in good shape. But unfortunately, I wanted to charge so I could get the cav into place. I bounced off the back of this thing, basically, with 2 units. Some of it from firepower, but whatever. And the other unit, though, is knocking the Spaniards around like billiards balls, but not really, you know, being able to get that final blow. Now, this is because this got a shitty roll, but, you know. And 1 strength point of cav against like 10 strength points of infantry, but just bopping them around. And it makes sense that I can't destroy them, to tell you the truth. Problem, though, with these Spaniards, which is that they're getting reaction moves and stuff. So the cav is charging towards them, and I'm able to pivot out of getting hit in the ass. And now I have to hit them. But part of this is because we're no longer in a tight formation. Part of it is because I don't have enough cav units to be able to hit them from different directions. So, yeah, I mean, it all makes sense. I don't know how much it makes sense that these guys can whip around as quickly as they do. But I've been looking at it and I'm like, yeah, we're able to do that. Notwithstanding that, we were still able to get up to +4, and then unable to get out of our charge and try to reform, we smacked the routed unit here, which, of course, we disintegrated, but we ended up chasing that off the board. So now we're down to, oh, whose charge this is? This looks like the other cav unit back here. I gotta try to hunt down where he is, though. Because what the fuck's this? This is a Surratt, I'm assuming. Yeah. Why is this in charge? Is everything else in charge? I guess. I don't know. The cav attacks here were sufficient to wipe out that final, I think, Burgundian unit, which was, high quality. That's the end of the line. Right now I'm at, let's figure out what the victory points are. In order to do that, we have to see what happens to that leader. And he will be killed. I don't know if he's worth anything or not. I'm going to come back down and do the victory points, because actually fighting a couple of attacks out was expensive in terms of my physical capabilities. But there's nothing left to do in terms of playing out the battlefield. And there I was able to get 2 cav to surround him, which means I get the rear advantage and everything. I was only able to get to a +2 against it, because that was a good unit, but it was good enough. Forced it into a situation where it couldn't retreat, and blew it up. Not that any of these matter. I think I'm feeling about as well as I did on Tuesday. Not quite. At the worst on Tuesday. Whatever that means. Because there's something in me that says, can't miss dancing. Even though, Anyway, we came up with the points. These are losses for the Spaniards, 455. They were wiped out, right? So they lost all their cavalry, all their infantry. The French here, it looks like pretty significant proportions of the losses. They lost all the artillery, though, and commanders-wise, 35 points to 5, because now wing commanders are worth nothing unless they're good. And no one, army commander is worth something. That's the big 20 points here. So we ended up with a difference of about 140 points, which historically is more extreme than the original decisive victory. Here, though, we managed to wipe out the Spanish army. There's nothing left of it. Of course, we also took a significantly heavier hit. Our own army is not in as good a shape as the French army was at the end of that. Take that as you will. However you want to look at it, this would be a decisive French victory, though. And you know what? I think it would be hard. There's a lot of luck in the game, so it's hard to say, oh man, how could the French lose? Look, if they lost Enghien early, he was a major, major factor in being able to get the French together to finish the Spaniards off. It sure felt like it was much more in the balance. And just looking at these stacks, I'm like, yeah, but a lot of these were right at the end, especially the Spanish infantry. So, yeah, it did look kind of similar. This is actually pretty telling. This is the units that chased off the map. They don't count against you or anything, except the 1 hit point here. But, when you've chased the enemy off the map, generally that's a pretty good thing. The cav often leaves the map. This battle, though, as opposed to the accursed Civil War ones, much less chasing off the map. The chart is different for everything except for the Civil War. All right, hold on. I'm going to clean this up. Sorry, I just knew I had to cough. And I also don't want to run out the battery, the memory card, and get an error and have to re-record this and add it later. Gonna load this up. It was a fun battle. I wish I hadn't gotten sick in the midst of it. I'm feeling too crappy to, jump into something else right now. Having fun with Godforge. There's not a lot of game there yet, but what there is, I doubt that the eventual game is going to be as giving as this is. I feel like I've gained a lot of stuff in it, but I don't know. These gacha games always are exciting right at the beginning. But even this, without very much available and everything, it's really kind of cool. But I also feel like there's things that they're giving out because there's parts of the game that are locked off that I think are probably richer than you would normally get. Don't know. We'll see. Definitely follows a different flavor from Raid or any other gacha game that I've played, which is kind of cool. I'd be into it if I don't get too into it. One of the problems with Raid was I got so into being, trying to get good at it, essentially, that it could no longer serve the purpose that I wanted it to. And yeah. All right, let's send this up.